voice and your spirit is completely connected. And you cannot, it's like you cannot say something and mean something completely different. I mean, you can, but it will come across because people are not stupid. And if you send out conflicting messages, this is what happens when you talk to somebody, say a salesperson, for instance, and you feel that there's something a little bit fishy or something's not quite right about this person or whatever it is that they want to sell you or share with you. This is always because there is some underlying message. So it's not just the message that they actually communicate with their words, but it's also the message, the underlying message. So if you're trying to put something across and you, for instance, you feel fearful or you feel underneath that you're not, it's not really a good product, say you're trying to sell a product and somehow you have the feeling inside that you're not actually sharing something of value with people, but you are trying to push something down their throat, you're trying to sell them something that is not really worth the price or whatever, then that will come across because you'll be going like 2 steps forward and 1 step back the whole time, because that part of you that feels a little bit embarrassed, a little bit insecure, or maybe you just downright, you think, well, why would they buy this? This is not worth the price, or this is not a good product, or whatever your thoughts are at the moment, at the time where you're trying to share this. Those feelings that you have, those feelings that you experience behind the scenes, if so to say, will actually come across probably even stronger than what you're actually saying. Studies show that what we transmit actually is being picked up much more rapidly, and it comes across much stronger than what we're actually saying with our words. So this is why it's so important to try to connect and align your energy so that everything that comes from you, your entire transmission, becomes whole. And so you're saying the same thing as you're transmitting, because that's when you have a really, really strong and powerful and compelling communication going to people. And this is when they feel that they can really connect with you and take in what you're saying, because there is no counter communication. It's a very clear line, very clear channel. And this is when people tend to feel like you're speaking from your heart to their heart, and they trust you and they take in your message in a completely different way.
So that makes me think of if you learned how to do this and paid attention and got all the cues, that you could do something like be a used car salesman. And how do they come across so powerfully believable when they might not even believe at all in what they're doing? And not just used car salesmen. I mean, anybody can do that, right? If you have certain talents.
Well, this is actually a really, really good example, because how many times have you been faced with a salesperson, say a car salesperson, and actually you wanted to run away screaming? You did not like that person one little bit, and you felt completely almost suffocated and overwhelmed by this person's desperate need to sell you something. This is how I normally feel if I'm faced with a salesperson like that. And that's the difference. If I'm faced with a salesperson that actually really feels, this is the best offer you could ever get, this is a fantastic car, this is an amazing offer, you're not going to get anything better, it's a brilliant car, good quality and a brilliant price, then I would probably buy it because he bought it himself, because he was or she was convinced themselves. This is when you can really convince somebody else, is when you are convinced yourself. And if you're not, you can feel it. So to answer your question, yes, you can learn techniques how to be a better salesperson, but at the end of the day, if you still do not believe in what it is that you're selling, and if you're coming from a place of trying to cheat people or, push something onto them that they don't really need or want, then I really don't believe that you're going to be a very successful salesperson.
And that makes sense. And, I was thinking more like on the lines of people who are like really good con artists, and they actually pull off their scams. They have learned these techniques, and they're playing a game. They're being actors at the moment.
Yeah. And these techniques are psychological techniques. Don't forget this. So when we are working with all these other techniques, NLP techniques, different techniques, visualization, all these different tools that you can use to align yourself better and be a more convincing and a more compelling communicator. These are many of the same techniques that salespeople learn, or a con artist would imply. Very often, actually, you'll see that a really, really sensationally good con artist, they have some sort of psychological tendency. I'm not going to use the word sociopath, but I did anyway. Sometimes there is a tendency, a deep psychological tendency within them that actually drives this. Drives the ability to be able to somehow get inside other people's minds and take advantage of people, finding out their weaknesses, reading their transmission and use it to their advantage. So again, it's all about psychology.
Right. So that's really a different subject altogether.